tennis. Straight sets might be the most meaningful thing that happened to either player all week, has seen all grass season. And by the time this video is over, you'll understand why losing is the most important thing that could have happened to them. Let's start with the basics, because the scoreline tells you almost nothing. Alex Eala and Venus Williams fell 6-3, 6-2 in the quarterfinals of the Bad Homburg Open to the tournament's second seeds, Slovakia's Teresa Mihalikova and Britain's Olivia Nichols, two double specialists. Two players who needed less than an hour and a half to dismantle a pairing that, on paper, should have terrified them. 80 minutes. That's all it took to end one of the most talked about partnerships women's tennis has seen. Here's the thing. It didn't start that way. Eala and Williams opened with a 3-2 lead, holding serve, looking completely comfortable next to each other. The crowd noticed it too. That early energy where you start to wonder if you're watching something special. Then it flipped. Mihalikova and Nichols won 6 straight games. 6. From a 3-2 deficit to a 2-set cushion in what felt like a blink. Read that again. 6 consecutive games. That's not a slump. That's a team finding its rhythm against opponents who'd only shared a court for a few days. To understand why this loss landed the way it did, you have to go back. Eala is 21. Filipino. She trained at the Rafa Nadal Academy, a path that required her family to send her overseas as a teenager, chasing a sport with almost no infrastructure back home. There was no blueprint for a Filipino tennis star. She was building one in real time, match by match, on courts an ocean away from anyone who shared her flag. That's the backdrop. Now, here's where most casual fans lose the thread. Eala didn't arrive at Bad Homburg as a feel-good underdog story. She arrived hot. Earlier in June, she won the WTA 125 title in Birmingham, then reached her first WTA 500 semifinal in Berlin, beating ranked opponents along the way, including a statement win over Anastasia Popatova. By the time she stepped onto German grass, she was carrying a 9-2 record on the surface. That run puts her on track to enter Wimbledon as the number 29 seed, which would make her the first Filipino player ever seeded in a Grand Slam singles draw. Stay with me, because that detail matters more than the doubles result ever will. A seed isn't just a number next to a name. It's months of results, stacked one on top of the other, that tell the rest of the tour, you have to take her seriously now. For a player who only recently broke into the bigger tournaments, that's not a footnote. That's the headline most people are about to miss because they're focused on a quarterfinal scoreline instead. So why did this match matter tactically? Doubles isn't just talent stacked on talent, it's built on repetition, communication, instinct developed over months. Mihalikova and Nichols had played 9 consecutive tournaments together. They just won the title at Queen's Club weeks earlier, arriving in Bad Homburg as one of the hottest teams on grass. Eala and Williams had been a team for barely 24 hours before this match. Here's what most casual fans don't know. The breakpoint numbers tell the real story. Eala and Williams created 4 break chances in the opening set and converted just 1. Mihalikova and Nichols had 3 chances and took every single one. That's the entire match in 2 stats. When the door cracked open for the favorites, they couldn't get through it. When it cracked open for the specialists, they walked straight in without hesitation. On the court, this is where Eala's transition shows. She's built as an aggressive baseline player, heavy forehand, strong return game, a style that translates well to grass because the surface rewards early contact and flat, fast strikes. That's part of why she's been so dangerous this grass season specifically. The surface plays to her strengths in singles. But positioning at net, anticipating a partner's movement, covering the alley, those are learned over dozens of matches, not one. That's not a knock on her game, it's just doubles being doubles, and it's exactly the gap that experienced teams like Mihalikova and Nichols are built to exploit. Talent alone doesn't close that gap quickly. No matter how good the individual players are, instinctive trust between partners takes time neither Eala nor Williams had together. Now, here's what makes this loss land differently than a normal quarterfinal exit. Across the net from Eala was Venus Williams, 5-time Wimbledon singles champion, former world #1 in singles and doubles, winner of 49 WTA singles titles, and owner of 22 career doubles titles, including 14 Grand Slam doubles crowns. Williams was already winning major titles before Eala was born. This wasn't a mentorship in theory. It was a 21-year-old standing on the same side of the net as a piece of tennis history in a real match with real stakes. When asked about playing alongside her, Eala didn't give a rehearsed answer. She talked about Venus as a trailblazer, someone whose career helped open doors for the generation Eala is now part of, someone she credits with shaping what women's tennis became as a platform for women's sports more broadly. That's not fan language. That's a player who grew up watching the version of tennis Venus helped build, suddenly standing on the same side of the net as her in a tournament that mattered. Even the players who beat them understood the weight of the moment. Mihalikova said afterward that facing a legend like Venus, or potentially Serena, at Wimbledon is the kind of thing that's once in a lifetime, win or lose. The kind of match you carry in your head whether you want to or not. She also pointed out the conditions were difficult to play in that day. No gloating, no dismissiveness, just an acknowledgement from the winning side that they weren't just playing a doubles match. They were playing through a piece of tennis history, and they knew it in the moment, not just in hindsight. So here's the open question nobody can answer yet. Was this Eala and Williams' only chapter together, or a preview of something that returns later? The partnership was always framed as short-term, a grass court tune-up before Wimbledon, not a long-term project, and nobody involved pretended otherwise. But in the round of 16, the two looked like they'd played together for years, storming to a 4-0 lead and closing it out 6-3, 6-4, with Venus serving out the match. That version of the partnership existed, fully formed for one match. Whether it ever comes back is genuinely unknown, and that uncertainty is part of why this story stuck with people. There's no controversy to resolve here, no falling out to dissect. It simply ran its course on schedule, and that's almost harder to sit with than drama would be. What's not unknown is what comes next. Venus is expected back at Wimbledon for an entirely different kind of reunion, doubles with her sister Serena for the first time since 2016, a pairing that's won 6 Wimbledon doubles titles together across their careers. Eala, meanwhile, arrives chasing her own history, a Grand Slam seeding no Filipino player has ever held, carrying a kind of national significance that goes well beyond her own results. Years from now, very few people will remember the 6-3, 6-2 scoreline from Bad Homburg. What they'll remember is that for 1 week, a 21-year-old rising star and a 7-time Grand Slam singles champion shared the same side of the net, and that it happened right before one of them stepped into the biggest tournament of her career as a seeded player for the first time. The story isn't over. Wimbledon is coming, and when it does, everything changes. So tell me what you think. Was this short-lived pairing more valuable as a moment than it ever would have been as a long-term project? Drop your take in the comments. And if you want to be here when Eala walks into Wimbledon as a seeded player for the first time, subscribe and turn on notifications, because that story's just getting started.